Hi, I'm Chris, and this is my AMD Radeon Sapphire, I guess I should say Sapphire AMD Radeon 7970, also known by the name Radeon R9 280X. And what we're going to be talking about today is how long should a video card last? Now, obviously, the ideal answer is forever, but we live in the real world. Come back to it, as Padme Amidala once said. But the reason why I am holding this Radeon 7970 is because, everybody thinks that the 1080 Ti is the king of lasting forever, but this GPU right here was already 5 years old when the GTX 1080 Ti came out. Now, the thing is, a lot of GPUs are in that just barely holding on category. The Radeon 7970 is in that category, but it has been there and been just barely able to play modern games for a lot longer than a lot of the other cards that have been there. Other cards that are there are, for example, 2014's NVIDIA GeForce, 2013's NVIDIA GeForce GTX 780, the 780 is over the hill. The 780 effectively can't play modern games. This can. This competed with the GTX 680, actually. This didn't originally compete with the 780. I think most people today would say that they think that this competed with the 780. This did not. This actually was in competition with the 680. And at the time, the 680 was a better card. But today, this kind of competes with the 780, but it also outclasses the 780. Just some choices AMD made with feature support and hardware selections and just luck of the draw. This card aged better than either the 680 or the 780. I would argue that this probably has aged, I don't know, as well as a 970, maybe close. Definitely like a 960, 1063 gig. I would put this up against a 1063 gig, to be totally honest with you. Yeah, it takes double the power, but I mean, if there's a lot of cheap power supplies on the market. Most power supplies that'll run a 1060 will run this. So, I mean, who cares? But let's jump over and take a look at games. We're going to use Cyberpunk. My opinion is Cyberpunk, with how well it's optimized today, is a perfect example of modern games that a lot of these cards can run. So let's take a quick look at Cyberpunk, and then I'll have some closing thoughts. So this is a great example. As I was saying, look, I'm not going to try to claim that this is beautiful, but I do generally define this as a modern experience. This is a great example of a GPU at the very tail end of its lifespan, but this is a 13-year-old GPU, right? I mean, this is running on a 13-year-old GPU. So let's say that for whatever reason, you've been in a bad financial spot for a while. This is what you ended up with for free. You live in a country that hardware is not readily available, and this is what you got your hands on. You bought this thing new when it was the hottest thing on the market, and for whatever reason, you've been happy with it. We're running on a Windows 10 based build here, which means it'll run on Windows 11. I don't know how well, but it will run on Windows 11. And for whatever reason, you've still got this. You've still been happy with it, but you loaded up Steam tonight. And you said, I want to try that Cyberpunk. I don't want to go buy a new video card just to run Cyberpunk. I just want to see it. I just want to see what it's like. This is a very viable option for that. You're not loading up Cyberpunk because you think that this is going to be some amazing experience. but it's, you know, you'd have to be a liar to sit there and say, oh, that's not playable. It's playable. You know, we're not looking at a slideshow here, right? Like, this is generally smooth gameplay. You know, it's not the highest frame rate, but, you know, I mean, it's not horrific for what you're looking at here. So let's get back and we'll talk a little bit more about it. And I just wanted to pop this in there instead of just telling you guys, oh yeah, Cyberpunk is playable. But anyway, join me back at the desk. So we're back, and you know, this wasn't really intended, and it isn't a statement video. If you had to extract an opinion from me on the matter, I think my statement on the matter would be a GPU should last, be physically capable of running the games as long as it has the pure raw power to do so. And we've seen a lot of GPUs that have the power. I think, honestly, that a 780, for example, I believe it is a more powerful GPU than this. But some poor choices in hardware selection and feature selection led us to the fact that this is now superior. And that shouldn't be that way. A 780 has the power to run Cyberpunk. I would argue probably it should be able to run it at medium, low to medium settings. Definitely medium with a little bit of upscaling and 1080p, maybe even medium, no, low with upscaling and 1440p. It should be able to do that, but realistically it can't. And that's unfortunate. And I think that's a good example of hardware not lasting. Whereas this has barely enough power, but it can do it because they made the right feature selection. They did the drivers right. It's aged well. But that being said, I don't really have an opinion on how long they should last. This is more of a quick discussion on the matter. But what do you guys think? I'm curious what other people think about how long a GPU should last. But anyway, leave comments and let me know what you guys think.